Hey guys, Michael here from michaelsherlock.com. The iPad 2 is coming in March. Now, I'm gonna say that it's probably gonna launch the way it did last year, with an announcement in late January, early February, with a launch closer to March, April. So March is where I'm expecting the iPad 2 to come. Now, unlike last year, it's going to come in both an AT&T 3G variant as well as a Verizon Wireless variant. Verizon Wireless currently sells the original iPad with a MiFi bundle at the same price points as AT&T. So for Verizon Wireless customers, they buy basically a Wi-Fi version and they pay the same price as an AT&T 3G version, but they also get a MiFi bundle. So it's an extra dongle. It has some benefits, but it also is kind of annoying that it's not built in. So they'll, of course, still have the Wi-Fi only, Wi-Fi plus GSM 3G or AT&T, and Wi-Fi plus CDMA. And there's probably going to be 3 price points for each, or 3 sizes. I'm not sure if it's going to say 16, 32, and 64, or if they're going to bump it up and go 32, 64, 128. But there's still probably going to be 3 different sizes available. So now let's talk about some of the improvements over the previous generation. First and foremost, front and rear facing cameras. I think it's going to go iPhone 4 style with a 5MP 720p rear facing camera with a flash, as well as a VGA front facing camera. And this is going to get FaceTime integration similar to the way the iPod Touch does it with email addresses. This will be perfect for business users who will be able to now have conference calls and conference video chats on their mobile device. So they'll be able to have either Verizon Wireless or AT&T built in wherever they are. They'll be able to go ahead and use FaceTime, which, by the way, I think will be able to be used over 3G with this new update. Now, the exterior, it's not going to be a huge redesign, but there are going to be several improvements. The bezel is going to be a little bit thinner, and similar to the iPhone, the back is going to be flat. It's not going to be a little lumpy like it is now. It's going to lay flat on a table, but it's also going to have tapered edges, which is a little bit different than the industrial iPhone 4 style. And another huge improvement for the screen, improved anti-glare and anti-smudge. This has been a huge thing with that glossy display. It gets pretty bright, but when you're outside, those smudges really come out. And the fact that you can basically, when you're trying to watch video content, I'm pretending to hold my iPad. When you're watching video content, you can see yourself because it's so glossy. And I think Apple's gonna, maybe not a matte display, but do something to make it less pertinent and less annoying when you're in direct sunlight. Speaking of consuming content, improved audio. We're going to have new volume buttons like the iPod Touch, so it's not going to be a rocker anymore, but it's going to be buttons. And also, they're going to be moving the speaker to the rear with a wide range speaker instead of on the bottom where it is now, to make it louder and crisper audio. Just a better experience, which is very important. Now, there's also going to be spec bump, which I'm pretty sure about. 512 megabytes of RAM like the iPhone 4, I'm sure is pretty much destined for the iPad 2. And now something more of a little bit of a guess. A lot of these speculative things that I've previously mentioned are pretty solid and pretty locked in, but this is one of the more unknown things. I'm going to say a dual-core 1GHz A4 chip. People are saying that they can maybe do a 1.66 GHz A4 or 1.2, whatever. But I think the fact of the matter remains that, a lot of phones just that we see, for 2011 are going to be dual-core, a lot of smartphones. And the BlackBerry Playbook is also going to be a dual-core processor. So for Apple to keep pace with them, and of course, they're really trying to catch up to Apple in many ways, they're going to go ahead and put in a dual-core processor, I think. Now, what's not going to be included in this update, just so you don't get your hopes up? 2 dock ports. People are saying that, to dock it landscape and vertically, it would be nice to have 2 dock ports. That's not really Apple's style, I don't think, to have all those buttons. They really try to minimize it. That's why we don't see a lot of buttons on the iPhone, the iPod Touch, the iPad. So I don't think 2 dock connectors is something that we're going to see. HDMI, USB, SD, we're not going to see ports like that at all. However, we may see improved, adapters for that 30-pin from Apple that maybe allow you to export or to output video via HDMI, or to have USB in for maybe saving documents. Because that's one of the most annoying things on iOS right now, document transfer. There's not really an easy way to do it, but perhaps they'll allow that with a dongle, but there won't be a USB port built in. But the biggest thing that there definitely won't be, that a lot of people talked about when the iPhone 4 came out, retina display. There's no way that Apple is going to put a retina display. And by the way, what is retina display? That's just basically a marketing term they use for a super high resolution screen. In the iPhone 4's case, 326 pixels per inch. But there's no way that they're going to be able to make a screen for a 9.7-inch iPad unit to have 326 pixels per inch. The resolution would be way too high for scaling apps in the software sense, but also for battery and CPU performance. There's no way they'd be able to get solid performance and 10 hours of battery life at something that has such a high resolution for a retina. Also, I don't think they're going to use, AMOLED or OLED. I think they're going to definitely stick with LCD IPS for the iPad 2 because that's something that Apple's really into. And also the fact of the matter is that, there's not really a lot of OLED and AMOLED screens 9.7-inch on the market right now, so it'd be very expensive for them to do that when they can stick with LCD IPS. That's not to say they won't improve the screen. Like I said, the new anti-glare and anti-smudge coatings, and maybe they'll do a bump, make it brighter, or make it more saturated, or whatever the case may be. But there's definitely not going to be a Retina display. For your iPad 2 that is coming in March, Verizon Wireless and AT&T variants, as well as a Wi-Fi only model, pricing is probably going to remain the same for the iPad 2. So in some cases it was kind of high, kind of steep, $829 I believe for a 64GB 3G model. But they're probably going to stick with that for the iPad 2, at least at launch, and they don't really do price drops, so they're probably going to stick with it, just between you and me. So I'm Michael Sherlock from michaelsherlock.com. Those are the iPad 2. The only real question mark is that CPU, but I'm pretty sure this is what the iPad 2 is going to look like and feel like when we get it in March 2011. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a nice day.